Hi, thanks for joining me on the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. Sometimes I wonder if I should get rid of the a bit gay, but my show is a bit gay. And plus there's another podcast called Everything and Anything. But I've been thinking about that. Should I get rid of the a bit gay? But maybe not. Anyway, I am getting ready for all of my fall, winter travel. Well, probably mostly fall at this point. It's the end of September, early October right now when I'm recording this intro. Who knows when you will hear this episode? You could hear this in November or December, maybe October. But as I'm recording this, it is September 28th. And I was with friends last weekend, and I was we were just having a conversation at dinner. We went to go see the show Rent, and we had a nice Thai food dinner, and during dinner, we were kind of talking about, I don't know how we got in the subject, but we just started talking about how I don't like to stay with people whenever I go visit them. There's very, very few friends that I actually like to stay with. My friend Jennifer is maybe somebody I'm okay staying with, even though I haven't been to her new house. I haven't gone to see her in 10 years. She always comes to me or we meet somewhere. And I see her twice a year. But my mom, so that's really what I'm going to get right to the point and talk about my mom. I don't like staying at my mom's house. Whenever we're going for Thanksgiving to see my mom. We go every Thanksgiving, and every Thanksgiving I rent an Airbnb. And then my mom comes over and she stays with us in the Airbnb. And I get a big Airbnb and I get it and I pick out the house that I like. And the reason why I don't like, so I should back up and say, I used to stay at my mom's house whenever I would go to Miami. When she was living in Miami and I was living in New York, I would stay at her house because that was the house that I grew up in. So I don't know, I'd go to my old room, I guess, and it just felt like it was fine. Then when she moved to Illinois, I would stay with her when she had her first house that she bought there because it was a big house, and I don't know, for some reason I just liked it. And then when she moved to her current house, because she needed to downsize a little, and she downsized and she wanted a pool for some reason. And God, she sold her beautiful house to get this other house, and just because it had a pool, I think. And now she barely uses the pool. She opened it up this summer, and I don't think she went in it once. And so I'm like, why do you even have this pool? But that being said, I don't like the energy of her house. And I do think houses have a certain feel. And let me back up first by saying why I don't like staying with people. The reason I don't like staying with people is not because of the energy of their house. It's because I don't want to be an inconvenience. Andrew is a sloppy disaster and a mess with things. He does not clean. His father is he cleans up everything. His house is spotless. It's organized. All the cans in the cabinet are facing the same way. They're in order. The freezer is completely organized with everything they have. The refrigerator, not Andrew. Andrew is just like his father, but not in that way. Andrew is not organized. Andrew is not clean. I mean, he's clean, but he doesn't clean up. He leaves every light in the house on. When I came home from my business trip this past week, we have a 3-story house, and every single light on all 3 floors was turned on. And I'm like, why? I don't understand. All the lights outside were turned on. Everything. And they were probably on the entire 5 days I was gone. And then he wonders why we have a $1,000 a month electricity bill, because we leave every light on. There's a lamp that's upstairs in my office that was turned on, that's never turned on. Like, did he come up just to turn the lamp on? I think he wants a high electric bill. But I don't even know where I was going with this, but I'll just tell you, going back to my mom, I don't like staying with her because I don't like the energy of her house. I also don't love dogs anymore. I grew up with a St. Bernard dog when I lived in Illinois. I lived in Illinois till I was about 7 or 8 years old. And I had a dog named Heidi, and she was a huge St. Bernard, and I loved her. And she was so friendly, and she loved me. I think my parents got her right around the time I was born. So she kind of had me in her life, her entire life. I had her, my life, my entire life. And then we moved to Florida. And the day before we moved to Florida, she was going to go live with my grandparents who lived down the road from where we lived in Illinois. Because you can't take a big St. Bernard dog to Florida. The dog would die of heat stroke and like on the first day. And so my grandfather came to get the dog when the moving truck was there, and the dog died. It was like heartbroken because it knew we were leaving. I guess it seen the big moving truck come up, and the dog died. And I don't know, it just impacted me so badly that I never want a dog again. I have cats, but I don't like dogs now because of that. And I know that's horrible to say, but I was heartbroken, and something inside of me made me not like dogs. And my mom is an animal lover. She loves horses. She loves cats. She loves dogs. She had a horse growing up. She wants another horse now, even though she can't ride it. She just loves all animals. She watches these animals that are rescued in rivers and then if there's something on the news about somebody abusing an animal, she thinks they should get the death sentence because she just loves animals so much. She's such a caring animal lover, which I love about her. And back to my original story is that I'm going to see my mom for Thanksgiving. I always rent an Airbnb. My mom comes and stays with us in the Airbnb. And I go to her house when we first get to Illinois to visit her before we go to the Airbnb. And maybe I'll pick her up, or maybe she'll just drive over to our Airbnb. But I feel like I just need to see her house. Like I need to at least walk in. So when she tells me, oh, I got this new chair, I got this new whatever, I can say, oh, okay, now I know what you're talking about. And this house, the energy is just off. It just doesn't feel good. And my aunt says the same thing about it. Something is off with this house. And the interesting part is whenever my mom was looking to buy a new house, her and my aunt went to go see this house in person. And my aunt's like, oh, there's such good energy in this house. There's so much love in this house. And the couple that live there just like loved the house and loved each other and loved their family and stuff. And then my mom moved in and she was going through her bad time. She was still grieving my father from dying. And there's just some bad energy that went into that house. And it never left. Even though my mom's she's in a much better place now. She's not grieving my father anymore. But she left, that bad energy is still there. And I do not want to stay there. Plus, she has 2 Labradoodles or something doodles, some fancy dogs that she has. And I don't like those dogs. You walk in and they're jumping all over you. I don't like the way dogs smell. God, I feel like I'm going to lose listeners by saying this about dogs. But I mean, like if you have a dog, that's great. I just don't like my mom's dogs, and I just don't want a dog for myself. And for some reason, I'm just not into dogs because my dog died, and it's something, maybe I need to go to therapy for this. But all that being said, is my guest today is named Marilyn, and she does an amazing job. And the reason why I know that is because she did this for me, of doing house cleansing, and she doesn't even have to be there. So she is doing a house cleansing, and she did one for my house, and she asked me a few simple questions. What's the name of the people that live there? What's the pets and what's their names? And what's your address? And I gave her my information, and literally a few days later, I get an email telling me about my house, about the energies in my house, about portals in my house, and clearing all the bad energy out. And I have to say, I really do believe she did it. And she did that before I interviewed her. And, I know I've done sage. I've saged my house when I get a new house, and I've done things like that. And, I think there is energy in a house. And I think that there's some type of spirits in your house if somebody died or something. Like I believe in all that. And if you've listened to any of my previous episodes, you would know I believe in that. I don't think this house was built maybe in the 80s, I'm guessing. And so it's not an old house. I don't think anybody's died in this house. But Marilyn can tell you like what the land was originally used for. And it was like a burial ground. Not that anybody's dead, she said, at my house, but it was a burial ground because I live in Medford. So there's a lot of, like, Amelia Earhart lived in this town at one point because there's a mural by our house about her. So this is there's some old houses, and this house wasn't built until the 80s, and that means there's a bunch of houses around it that were built in the early 1900s or even late 1800s. So who knows what was actually on this piece of land before the house was built. But she did a great job. She sent me, I got a card in the mail, also from her, with, a little kind of saying I've kept the card. It's on my work desk. And I loved my conversation with her. She was such a great guest and had good energy. And I guess you need to have good energy in order to do energy cleansing of a house. And then she picked an oracle card for me, which I didn't really know about oracle cards. But then I've talked to a few people since then, and she's a fantastic lady. If you are looking to get your house, if you feel like you have something wrong in your house, or you're moving into a new house, she does not have to come to your house. She lives in Canada, so she can do all this remotely. Contact Marilyn. I will put all the details on how to contact her in the description of this video or podcast, and have her cleanse your house. What does it hurt? She's doing this for my mom's house too. She's like, I'll do it for your mom. She's doing it for my mom, and when I go for Thanksgiving, I bet there's going to be a different energy there, but I also bet I don't stay there still. But I do think that she will be able to cleanse any negative energy out of my mom's house because my mom's house needs it. So enjoy my interview with Marilyn Penney. She is a great person. I loved her story. I loved her. And let me know what you think by leaving a comment in the description of this podcast or the video about what you think about my interview with Marilyn. Thanks. Thanks so much for joining me on the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. Today I have a special guest. Her name is Marilyn Penney, and I can't wait to interview her because she has a very unique skill, and we're going to jump right into it. So welcome to the show, Marilyn.
Thanks so much, Zach. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So you did an energy cleaning for me, or is that the best way to explain it?
It's a property and home energetic clearing. Yeah.
So tell me, what that means to my I know what it is because you did it for me. So tell me tell my listeners what that means in layman's terms.
Okay. So, in terms of layman terms, I'm just connecting to the energy of your property, and I do it all remotely. So I don't have to see your property. I don't have to be there. Some people use things like sage, if you're aware, if you're, use those types of things, or crystals, or people that, have heard of those sort of things, or ringing bells and stuff. I just do it from a different perspective. I go a little bit deeper, and I'm able to kind of pull out those emotions and thoughts and feelings that are stuck literally in your walls, and remove them permanently and shut the access points to those. So yeah, it's like a spring cleaning, but from an energy perspective.
So do people come to you? So I'll give you an example. Somebody dies in your home. Like when my father died, and my mom, she moved actually to a new house, and not because he died in the home. She just felt like she was too attached to that house with my father. And so she moved, but she could have done this cleaning with you and probably made things a better energy. Is that accurate?
Yes, absolutely. And I understand both my parents passed in our family home. And when we were selling it, I had to do that clearing process, and also a disconnection process from the people who were so emotionally attached to the home, because we'd been in it for 16 years, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot of even illnesses that people go through. Like, you may get through these things from a conscious level, but subconsciously and in the walls of the home, they take all that on, and it will stay there. So yes, absolutely. If someone passes away in your home, you don't really want to move. And some people actually have these feelings, and they struggle, and they they move, but those feelings may go with them, or they may attach to another property that has a similar vibe. So they're just kind of carrying it on until they decide to clean it out, you
It's
know?
so interesting you say that because my mom bought the new house and we went in there and there's a couple that lived in there and I walked into the house and it felt like good energy. My aunt went to it and it felt like a great place that she was
Right.
moving to.
Yeah.
But she brought bad energy with her
Right.
and I
Yeah.
and she lives in Illinois and I live in Boston and I have to say when I go there, I don't even stay with her because I don't like the energy of the house. Like we rented Airbnb and we stayed at Airbnb and she comes and
Yes.
stays with me for the week because I'm like the energy in this house is so off and I told her like literally a couple months ago I'm like I just don't like your house. Like it's a nice house. You've got a great house, you got a great pool, all this is great, but it's just like something is off and I just don't want to stay there. And it makes so much sense that you said that she could have brought that with her because she did.
Yeah, I've cleared a lot of properties where people just feel uncomfortable staying with other people, and then after the clearing, they're like, "Oh, it's like a different place."
Yeah.
It's literally, and it's just it can be just a slight shift. It can just be, "Hey, you know what? Here's some thoughts and feelings that you have going on in your house, and let's
Yeah.
just get rid of them." And they're like, "Huh, it feels so so much better." She probably isn't sleeping very well either, is she?
She was not. So, but I have to say she's done some type of shift in the last 6 months. It literally took her like over 10 years to grieve my father. Like she just like was
Gosh.
going through like a lot
Yeah.
and I mean I could go into we could do a whole episode about my mother's issues that she's had and stuff
Oh,
but
it's
she's
a
gone.
lifelong thing, right?
Yeah.
It never really ends, but there is sort of a living with it and a peace that comes over most people. But yeah, I mean, I guess it takes for her as long as it takes, right?
Yeah, but been a shift and she's like much
Good.
happier now and stuff. So I don't know. And I haven't been back to her house since this shift has happened. I'm going for Thanksgiving. So, maybe it will be a better energy when I get there. But
Yeah.
I was so interested in like the portals and stuff that you kind of talked to me about in my house. So tell my listeners a little bit about like what you see and kind of like what you're helping with whenever you're doing this.
Okay. Well, there are a number of things. It's a process that I go through, and I use a pendulum. I have sort of a spiritual gift that I didn't know about till I was in my 50s. I kind of learned this process, and then I found out through, research and working with other healers that I've been doing this for like 300 lifetimes. Like I literally
Wow.
know those records. I've written those records, and I channel that information. So that part really blew my socks off
Yeah.
because I was like very excited because I seem to just take to it and I love it because clearing energy is, it's my jam. Like I
Yeah.
just love doing it. So for properties, when you have an open portal way, it just means that your house is like Swiss cheese. It's just open to all kinds of stuff. It's kind of like when your immune system as a person, if your immune system is down, you're going to catch all those germs and things that are floating around, right?
Mhm.
So your house has these energetic openings. So you might feel in a bathroom or, something feels cool or off or you're uncomfortable. I've had a lot of people say, I don't sit in this room. I don't know why. And then we do the clearing and then they're like, oh my God, I'm comfortable here again. So
Yeah.
because there was an open portal, it was making you feel icky, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
And then I look for, negative thought forms. So what kind of stuff is in there? So for instance, passivity comes up a lot for people and they get home at night from work and they're just flat out and it doesn't necessarily make sense. And it just means that you've been sort of feeling that way. Or a lot of people, when we went through COVID, people were just laying around and
Yeah.
getting frustrated and sad and isolated. And all those thought forms are sticking in there, even though you've kind of moved past it. We all kind of got back to some kind of normal. Your home is still feeling that kind of passivity and loneliness and isolation and grief. And you walk back into it every day and that sort of makes you not feel like doing anything.
Yeah. And you're giving people solutions or you're helping kind of cleanse the home whenever you're doing this process, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I can quite often I'll get, like, I may get a message from the home itself to say, brighten me up. Like, I could use a little paint job or feng shui my furniture. Or
Yeah.
for one particular home, it was really interesting. I said, I feel like there's a disconnection to your family. You haven't claimed this home, or you guys don't like this home. And they were blown because they just said,
Yeah.
we thought the house is too big. We've kind of been griping about it for years. And I said, all right, we need to give a little gratitude to the home, put your name on it. That sort of, like, I just sort of give some ideas and suggestions around, give it a little love, because your home is protecting you. It's keeping you safe.
Yeah.
It should be that haven of peace, and it's energy too. It has a soul and it feels things as well.
I want to go back because I love stuff like this. I want to go back to talk about your how you kind of discovered this in your 50s and your 300 lifetime. Like, talk to me about that, how
Yeah.
you discovered it, and how you discovered that you've done this in other lifetimes.
Yeah. So I've been in the hospitality industry my whole life. So service was always my thing. I always did things in service.
Mhm.
So I wanted to coach people because I had been in recruiting for a number of years, and I thought coaching sounds great, but the whole life coaching thing, there was something not quite all there for me. And I took
Mhm.
the training, and I said, there's something about sitting and asking people a bunch of questions and making them figure it out was not really what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, and then I discovered the training for the Akashic Records, and I just took to it so quickly. And I said, there's something about this that I really like. And a client kind of nailed it for me. It was maybe a year or something later. And she said, you know what it is? It's you tell me what's going on. I don't have to tell you. And I said, oh, I get it. Because I'm able to go in and say, this is the energy that I'm picking up on. Let's talk about that. How do you
Mhm.
connect with that? So, and then I did some training with a channel who actually channeled, is like a channel. And she
Yeah.
told me that I was Acacia in past lifetimes. I actually created the records, and that I had specifically waited until later in life, until I had been through a number of life, situations before I opened up to my gift. So, I mean, I've, been married 25 years and left a marriage, started a new relationship. I've been through clinical depression a number of times. I'm a mom. I've, I've had a ton of life experiences that I
Mhm.
think help me with the empathy that's involved and that you need as a healer, right? You need to
Yeah.
have that connection to people, and that I've been there. I don't want to talk about myself, but I can feel what you're feeling. And it helps me to be a more sensitive channel as well.
Did you ever do like a past life regression?
I did one for myself many years ago, and I don't know if I actually was in it or if I was making it up. I was really struggling
Yeah.
with that part. I would like to try it again because I hear people have gone through tremendous healing by having these.
Yeah.
Have you done it?
I have. So I had a guest on my show. Her name is Myra Rath. She's amazing. She actually has a podcast. And so what we did is we did it before we did did my episode. She came on my show and she hypnotized me. I'm laying in my bed with headphones on. She's recording it
Right.
over Zoom, and I'm open to all this stuff. So I think you have to make, if somebody's going to do it, has to be open to it.
Yeah.
And I was very open to it. And she basically took me back to at least two past lives. Not that I ever thought I would be these people in the past life. I guess I had in my head who I thought I would be,
Right.
but there's lots more. And we only did it for an hour and a half. But I was
Right.
a farmer in like the 40s and had a wife and two kids in Kansas. And I like walked through that whole life from the kids sitting at the table in the kitchen. And one of the
Oh,
kids was somebody in my life now. And then how me and my wife died. I went through that whole thing. And then another one, I was actually not on this planet. And I didn't see who I was. I could just see the around me, the planet that I was on. And so it was so interesting. And Myra is so good at her job. And I'll put you in touch with her if you are interested in doing something like that. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's interesting because people ask me if that's what I do. And when I do soul realignment, so I clear properties, but also clear souls. So
okay,
I channel past life stories, but I channel them in a way that they're current. So you could be driving, you could be in a car accident, you could be, but the information that comes through very much it mirrors what they've heard from past lifetimes and actually what they're going through in this lifetime. Like I may say, relationship type things that will come through, and I'll say, you've been in like these love triangles and this happened and this happened. And they'll say, oh my God, that's what I'm going through in this lifetime. So that's the purpose for me, is to clear out some of those things so that you can move forward and release some of that stuff from your past lifetimes. So it's sort of a different spin.
yeah. So how are you kind of connecting with their past life? Just because you can connect with people in that way? Is that just part of one of your gifts?
Yeah, I actually access through the Akashic Records. So it's all the stories, all the things that you've been through in your lifetimes. So it's almost like a cherry picking, because it's what your soul is ready to talk about and to release. So it's totally based on your soul. I have no control. I just say, okay, tell me what are they ready to let go of? And then the information just comes. And it's so fun because I can just sit and write and write and write. And it's like this channeling thing that's happening, and it's starting to happen. I didn't always do that with the properties, but now that's coming through. Some stories are actually coming through of somebody who lived in that house, went through this or this particular trauma or this, and really interesting things are happening. So it's developing and evolving over the years.
Are you able to not take that energy on yourself though, and like leave it? I always feel like sometimes, like whenever you're, and maybe I'm completely wrong, but like whenever you're with somebody that's negative, in your life, you kind of take on that negativity sometimes. So whenever you're getting some of this like negative energy from people, are you able to kind of like leave that whenever you end your session with them and just make sure that you're not bringing the negative energy with you?
Yeah, I do have to, do protection rituals and clear
Yeah.
my energy. I think that I am not as empathic. So I am maybe designed that way so that I don't take it all on, which is great. And because it's all done remotely too, I'm not like in the
Yeah.
space. But I do feel like as the more I do this, the more years I'm doing this, I do feel stuff. Like I have tears come to my eyes sometimes and go, whoa, whoa, what was that?
Yeah.
Like, and you just kind of go, okay, that was a heavy energy. Let's clear that out. But then I do my own sort of protection ritual, which I tell everybody to do now. Like young kids are coming in so sensitive now, they all need to be protected. They need their energy protected.
Young people are very, very sensitive now, and the new generation, like about things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about people that have come to you just for, not just property, but just like life changes? Are you kind of helping them, just guide them in that way as well?
Yeah, and that's where I go into like a soul realignment. So that will remove the layer of blocks that your soul is ready to let go of. So that's where I will channel past lifetime stories. I'll indicate the blocks and say, like, for instance, you were 8 and you've, had a constraint placed on you. And they say, oh, okay, that makes sense. Who was that? And we sort of talk about that and different blocks that you've held on to. Like I had a gentleman I worked with over 2 years, and he came back every few months. He'd say, you know what, I think I'm ready for another layer. And eventually he just said, I can't believe I feel like a different person. Like I
Yeah.
have the baggage that's left me is incredible. So that's what lights my fire, right? When
Yeah.
I sort of, it's a different way of doing it than, say going to therapy every week for 6 months or a year. And that's all fine. This is just a different way of doing it.
And we'll be right back. Okay. And now back to the show. When you discovered this gift, did you did it change the way that you think about, or that you now think about, like what happens when we die? So I'll just tell you my story. My grandfather was super religious, Church of God, Southern Baptist, whatever. Uh, and I questioned religion very early in my childhood. Um,
Okay.
and when my father and mother and my brother, we moved away from my grandfather because my father took another job. We moved to Florida. I think I was 7. My father basically said, "You don't have to go to church anymore if you don't want to." And I said, "I don't want to because I don't necessarily believe in all this." And I was lucky in that way that he gave me the choice. And as I've been doing this podcast even and meeting people that are mediums or psychics or doing channeling or doing anything, like my whole way of thinking about what happens when we die has completely changed. So I did not necessarily believe in reincarnation and we come back, and I didn't believe in any of that really. I thought when you die and that's it, you're done. And now I have this podcast has like given me, just a whole new education on what I believe happens whenever we die. So has that changed for you as well?
Oh, huge. Like
Yeah.
I grew up Catholic. I'm a cradle Catholic, and I went to church until my 40s until, I just kept falling down the well of depression, and I felt like the church didn't have what I needed. It was
Hmm.
more like you're a sinner and you're going to hell if you
Yeah.
do something bad. And, we were kind of raised that way to be fearful of God. And, and I didn't like that. So when I discovered spirituality just in general, I just felt so much more supported and
Yeah.
loved. And then when my parents passed away, I didn't know if I could handle that. Like people say, it just blows your world. And I said, I just felt like my mom's everywhere now. My dad's
Yeah.
everywhere now. It's so cool. And to feel that presence of that person is still in your life in a way. And then I've started to listen to, mediums and learn about the process of when we die, we go and review our life, and I just think, wow, that it all sort of clicks in, it makes sense. And then coming back, because I've even had somebody say, I think my grandson is my ex-husband. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, whoa, that's fast. Like I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's
Yeah.
happening that quickly, but I believe in all of it. I don't There's nothing off the table for me. Like unless it's hellfire and damnation, which I don't believe in,
Yeah.
but
Same.
I will listen to and be open to any interpretation and just say, if it's what you believe, then it's true for you.
Yeah. Same with my father. My father's with me a lot. He's often, he gives me
Yeah,
signs, like physical signs.
that's
Uh,
wonderful. Yeah.
yeah. And it's made me, I mean, I don't want to die, but it makes me not scared to die. So if that makes
Yes.
sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I don't feel afraid like I used to. And I mean, I'm someone who has tried to take my life. So in that spirit, in that space, I think I really felt like it was going to be the end. So when I discovered this and I think back on those times and think, wow, I really know that I'm here for a purpose. Like I think people who really get dark, there is a dark night of the soul and there is a turning point in your life. I think
yeah.
that is a real thing when you decide to stick around and see what's for you to do.
Yeah. And don't you, I mean, thank God you didn't take your life because do you ever stop and think about all the people you've helped and how you've
I
improved
do
their
now.
lives? Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you ever
Yeah.
kind of stop and like reflect on that sometimes to think, oh wow, like I've helped, I don't know how many people you've helped with their helping get their lives in order, whether it's their house or their individual selves. But do you ever reflect on that, thinking like, oh wow, I'm doing such good in this world and we need more of that? Do you ever reflect on
Yeah.
that for you?
Actually, not really. Not
I
really,
asked this
honestly.
question. I
No.
asked this question to a lot of my guests, and nobody ever reflects on it. And I think it's so important to do it because you're doing such great things in the world, and you should sometimes stop and think about how much positive energy and how you're improving people's lives. Like, do that for me one day,
Okay.
where you just kind of just like
Well,
think about
get other
like
people to do that, but you're right. I don't think
you
about doing it.
should do it because it's you really think about how many people's lives you've made better. And so, anyway, that's a little exercise I would love for you to do.
You're so sweet. Thank you. Yeah.
Tell me about Earthbound Souls.
Okay, so earthbound souls, and I find it interesting because there are a lot of interpretations. Some people say there aren't very many. Some people say there's a lot. I don't have a idea of how many there are. I just, in my work, I've identified that there are people that stay earthbound, souls that stay earthbound, either because they don't know they're deceased, they don't know that they've left their body,
Mhm.
they are just attached emotionally so strongly to a person or a place that they can't let go.
Mhm.
And they just hang around. And I was interesting. I was reflecting on this question. I knew it was coming about, you know, those like ghost stories and shows and things, and that people go, and that's kind of like entertainment. And for me, I just feel the pain of an earthbound soul that hasn't transitioned and what they must be going through,
Yeah.
because they're looking for their family. I've actually cleared homes where I've said there was a child here that died, and the child stayed attached, and when the mother died, she transitioned, and she's coming back, she's staying around, she wants her son,
Mhm.
like stuff like that, that it tears at my heartstrings. And part of the work that I love the most is that I can release these souls, you know. And it's by the person's intention too. Like, say if your father's soul was earthbound and sticking around and attached to you or to your mom or to
Mhm.
her home or your home, it's through your intention. Because some people say, oh, I like having my mother around, or my aunt, or my so and so. And I say, you know, it's okay, but I'm getting that they're staying attached for you. So if you can release them, they will come back to you in spirit and send you signs, and they will, you know, they will still be with you. I think people are very scared to let go of their loved ones because they feel like they'll be gone.
Yeah, I don't think my father's earthbound. I think he is just a spirit that comes back and gives me signs. And the weird thing is he never goes to do anything with my mother, because he knows, and I know why he doesn't is because I know if he did give her a sign that she would focus on it and dwell on it. So I know that's he comes to her in her dreams, but he does not ever give her signs like he gives me and my aunt. So he knows how she is.
Do
That's
you
all she
share with her the
Yeah,
signs?
I do share with her, and I took a medium class, and, I did it for about a year, and I he came at one point to when I was getting a reading, from
Oh,
someone, and yeah, he didn't come that often, and I always wanted him to come, and it would always be like my uncle. The interesting part is my uncle came, and I didn't really think about him coming. And I'm not saying he's the last person I would have thought would come, but he just wasn't on my mind. And he
right.
came 3 times in a row with this when I was getting a
One.
reading with the different
Interesting.
medium. And he had a message from my mom and her sister, and
Oh,
I told my mom, I said, "This is what he told me." And she goes, "Oh my god, that makes sense." Because they all live in the same town. She wasn't seeing him that often. It was her brother. And she went to go see him. And when she pulled up to his house, he was like in his backyard. And she's like, I didn't even recognize him. He looks so different. Something is wrong with him. He found out like a couple days later he had cancer, very late stage. And he ended
oh
up
no.
dying like 2 weeks later. And so she
Oh,
felt so guilty for not going and seeing him more often. Both her and her sister, my aunt, felt
right.
bad, like, "Why didn't we go see him? He lives in the same town. He lives 5 minutes from us. Why didn't we spend more time with him?" And he told me the message to give to her. He goes, "Your mom and her sister, my, sisters are both feeling guilty about this. Tell them do not feel guilty because I could have went to see them too, and that we'll be together again one day." And I'm like, "I'll tell them." And I told my mom, like, "Are you and my aunt, like, talking about him a lot?" She goes, "Yeah, we've been talking about this." I said, "This is his message." And she's like, "That makes
Never.
sense." So yeah,
Yeah.
my father, going back to the original thought, was that my father doesn't necessarily. I don't think he's here. He just gives me signs with things, and he's done physical things too.
That's wonderful. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, and quite often we do. I think we go into a reading of anything because someone will tell me, "I want to have a relationship," and we're doing a soul realignment. I'll say, "Okay, that's great. We can make that our focus. That we want some information around that, but it could be something totally unrelated to that comes through that you need to work on first." So I'm assuming that your uncle kept coming through because those messages were important. And, maybe he was chatting with your dad and, jumped the line or whatever. And I've always assumed my dad would come through. His name was Leo, and I see the name Leo everywhere since
Mhm.
he died. And he comes through to people that I'm not even going to have like a mediumship. I'm just a psychic reading or whatever. And they go, God, I've been calling all my clients Leo all morning and I didn't know why. And so that's what I
Yeah.
did. He just has that powerful presence. So sometimes that's what it is. It's that energy just comes through faster. And I mean, you can go to a medium to particularly ask for your dad. Like, I think that can be
Yeah.
arranged, like take a piece of his, jewelry or something. Or, I
Yeah.
mean, your mom might find some healing by going to a medium.
Yeah, I mean, but I've thought about it, with her, so maybe that's something we'll do when I see her in Thanksgiving. Maybe I'll take her to one. Just, the thing is that there's just so many people that are not authentic out there, and so it's hard to find the right person. Like, I know who to go to, online because I took this mediumship class with this amazing guy named Michael Mayo, and he's just amazing and the real deal, and so maybe I should schedule a session with him and her. Maybe that's a good thought.
That's a great idea. And we have sort of a world renowned psychic a medium here. So I'll send you her information if you want to check her out. So
Yeah, maybe I would like to have somebody else do it other than Michael with her. It's somebody that doesn't have a connection to me.
doesn't
So,
know you. Yeah,
y-
her name's Marianne Kennedy, and she's very very authentic. She's
okay.
wonderful. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
maybe I'll reach out to her too. Maybe she'll come on my show too. So,
Yeah, yeah, she might. That'd be
um,
great.
I wanted to one of the things that you kind of mentioned when we were kind of talking about earthbound souls and being kind of, stuck maybe in a house or something. So there's a guy that I know named Rob, and he has been on my show twice. And him and another woman, uh, actually, she's a drag queen. They go to
Yes,
houses.
I listened to this one when they were working with a young boy.
Yes, and so
Yes.
I
Oh,
think it's
that
so
was incredible.
fascinating what he does, and,
Yeah.
I originally interviewed him because he wrote a book. So he started dating this guy and ended up marrying him, and one day he says, "I have to tell you something, um, your ex is in the backseat of our car,
Yeah.
who died," and he died, and he's like, "Oh," and, his now husband is like, "Okay," and he ended up starting, having a relationship, like a friendship with his partner who died.
Oh.
And the interesting thing is that he was able to find out how he really died because I think that they thought that he died. I don't know if it was by suicide. I can't remember what it was, or if he died in and he actually died in a more authentic way. And he was able to tell his now husband and his husband's family what really happened. And
Oh,
it was
beautiful.
such an amazing gift that he gave, and Rob is just like he's excellent at that, and he also does a lot with pets, and he's written
Mhm.
books about you know, and he told me about my cat that died, how my cat came back and helped my other cat understand how to live with me and like the things to do. So tell
Ah,
me about
that's
your connection with pets as well, because you put into my report that you sent to me about my animals.
did I? What did I say about your animals? I know. I
Uh,
I guess. Oh, I think it's just the energy. Like quite often, I will actually get a call from people because their animals are acting up, or they're interacting with spirits in the home, and or
yeah,
having seizures. I actually worked with a client. Their dogs were waking up in the night with seizures, and that's
wow,
just. I mean, that's upsetting. So, you don't know what it is, and they go through the whole vet thing, and they can't figure out. It was actually the energy. It was actually earthbound souls. And just to touch back on that, when it's a disruptive earthbound soul, it's somebody who's just been around for a long time and they're frustrated and they can't I find that people are, this is my assumption, is that earthbound souls will be attracted to people who know how to release them or know somebody who can help them. So it eventually gets to someone like me or someone who can do that release work. So I fully believe that connection that your friend made with that person that he married, and then the ex, there's a whole connection there. There's a whole synchronicity that happens so that that person can get their story out and be released, you
Yeah.
know?
Who should come to you if somebody is feeling off about their home or off about their life? Is that the type of person that should kind of come to you if they just kind of feel like the energy's off? Not just in the home, but just overall their energy just feels something isn't quite there or something is
Yeah,
wrong.
absolutely. Or if you're having experiences like not sleeping, kids having behavioral issues. I've worked with a lot of people whose kids just struggle, and and calming the energy of the environment has helped them tremendously with that. Animals acting up. Even plants in the house. I think I mentioned in your report about just plants not thriving because they're
Yeah.
just in this, they're not happy in their energy. They're not fully able to thrive in their
Yeah.
energy. So yeah, like in people who've had, like I even say, if you're selling your home, if you're renovating your home, like if you have a lot of people coming and going, like like you said, mentioned Thanksgiving, like sometimes a lot of people come in with a lot of energy, and they will leave it all at your doorstep and go home. I've
Yeah.
even had clients come to me after I've cleared the place, and they say, I had someone come over and I just don't feel right again. So I say, okay, so we've closed everything down. However, somebody can still come in your place and, you know, activate some energies and leave them with you. So this person, I assumed she came to get some healing and some help from her friend, and she just offloaded all of her stuff and then walked out the door. So those are the types of things that we need to sort of be vigilant to clear, or to
Mhm.
make sure that we're, gridding our houses, protecting our houses from that energy coming in the first place.
And we'll be right back. Okay, now back to the show. Are there any kind of red flags that people should look for if they, if they're in a new house or even in a house that they've been in and the energy changes? Is there any red flags that they should kind of like say, "Oh, I need this. I need a clearing."
Yeah, I think a lot of times for people, it's just, how do you feel in your home? And then when you go like to work or something, and
Mhm.
how do you feel like to really be aware? I think that's awareness. Like a lot of people will just go through their day on a bit of a treadmill and they don't realize. And they also, people get very used to not sleeping and they think that's normal. Just like sometimes I think,
Yeah,
okay, like even after I clear a place, I said it might take a few days for your body to realize that this energy is clear now, and you're habitually not sleeping now. You've decided that you can't sleep, so
yeah,
it becomes that the way that things are for you. And also stress, I talk to a lot of people about stress, and I recommend Gabor Mate's book like all the time because it's about the high levels of stress that we allow ourselves to have, thinking that's normal. Like you talk to someone, they say, "Oh no, I don't have any stress. I've just got this," and I'm like, "Okay, whoa, that's a
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
stress." So that's going to come out in your body. So, and you're also going to leave that residue in your home. You're going to take that on in your energetic body, and you just feel heavy. Like some people just feel kind of heavy, like kind of just down. And,
yeah.
and it could be depression, it could be, anxiety, it could be some of these things that certainly you see a doctor about, but take a look at the energy first and see if that might just lighten you up a little bit so that you can make some changes in your life.
And can the energy of a house and a person? I guess that can change over time, right? Depending on what's happening. It's not. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And what often happens too is when you're in a space, like you're in a home, say, and you do a soul realignment with me, which a lot of people will do, and then they'll start to expand and change it, and then their space feels suddenly not great because they're not no longer aligned with the energy of their space. So you want to make sure that you're in alignment with wherever you are. So we can grow, but a house has a soul, but it doesn't know how to do that. It needs help to expand and release and grow with you.
yeah. And what do you do? What happens whenever you get somebody that reaches out to you, if this has happened, and they're skeptical about the whole thing? Have you ever kind of like change somebody's mind? Like, oh, wow, I should have done this a long time ago. Or how do you handle people that don't necessarily believe in it?
I don't get a lot of people like that. I often get people who say it's the woman that wants the clearing, but the husband's not really down, or the kids don't get, like, the rest of the family
Yeah.
doesn't believe or doesn't get it. And I know we sort of talked about, you kind of have to be open. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes this stuff works even if you're not open. You need to accept that it has changed, that things have changed. But I have sort of changed minds after I've gotten to do some work. And then
Yeah.
they're like, oh. And
Yeah.
I've done relationship readings, which are hilarious, that a woman will sort of drag her boyfriend and let's do this. And they'll just come along and, okay. And and I'm like doing the information. I'm saying, here's your soul personality. And I said, you know what? I see you. This is what's going on with you. And he's like, whoa. They get kind of like, oh, okay, I'll do the homework.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I think it's great. I really think that more and more and more people are becoming aware and open to, there's something else out there. This isn't all there is. So if we don't clean up our act before
Yeah.
we depart, we may just come back around and do the same thing over and over and over again. I think that's what I feel.
Yeah. Do you feel like and maybe, and it could be my social media algorithm that I'm on with TikTok or Instagram, whatever. But I feel like more people are becoming more accepting of this, and more people are looking at it where they're not just, I think even me 5 years ago, did I believe in any of this? Like I said before, not really. But now I've opened my mind to it, and I believe in all of it. And my I feel like I talk about my aunt so often in these shows because she is very into energy, and she's a Reiki master and stuff. And so she gave me some crystals to put under my pillow to help with my sleep and stuff. So, all these things that I didn't think she was crazy before. I just, like, it's not for me. And now we're on the same page. So it's funny how that kind of comes around.
I
but
know. And don't you
but
feel just a little more joyful, a little more hopeful for the world? Like,
yes, I
you
do. And I
know?
wish more people would open their mind to this, and, whether just to take in the positive energy and stuff, and think about karma also, because I'm a big believer in that too. And I think the world would just be a much better place overall. And we need that right now. I think in this world, we need a
Oh,
better
yeah.
place, and we need better energy, and we need more people that just will just be a little more open to things. So,
Yeah. And I think there's more and more and more coming. And I think as our young people are coming in with more like ADHD and autism and
mhm.
more, like, it's just all about sensitivity. They're just highly sensitive people. And we need to learn they're here to teach us,
Yeah.
right? Like, we're all here. We all have people coming into our lives to teach us how to slow down, how to live life with joy and with love. And that's really what we're supposed to be doing. So if I have to do it one person at a time, I'm just going to keep
Yeah.
chipping away and spreading the joy and the love and, carry it on. Like, and they'll tell two friends and they'll tell two friends and so on and so on.
So if any of my listeners want to get in touch with you, what's the best way they could do that?
My website is marilynpenny.com. So that's easy. Instagram is Marilyn Penny Soul Fixer, because I kind
Okay.
of go on by the Soul Fix moniker. Yeah, and I would love to hear from anybody. I offer a complimentary consultation call. I can chat with you, see what's right for you. I don't do a ton of different readings, but I have a few specific things that I can work with you on, and I would love to do that.
Great. And I will put Marilyn's website in the description of this video or podcast, whatever you're listening to, and a link to her Instagram. So please reach out to her. What she sent me about my home was fantastic. It was very detailed. I got a card in the mail for you, which I appreciate, where I'm like, what? It was a great follow up and stuff. So, and I'm really glad I got to talk with you. I think like I said, I hope you reflect on all the great things that you're doing in this world and making people happier. So it was really a pleasure to have you on my show.
Oh, thanks so much, Zach. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Be sure to subscribe and go and send Marilyn a DM on Instagram and reach out to her. And if you're having like any feelings that you would like to maybe make a little more positive, I think she's the right person to help you. So thanks everybody for listening. Be sure to subscribe and we will talk to you on the next show. Thanks again, Marilyn.
Thank you.